The Nzxt H510 Flow versus the InWin 303 case. Let's begin. The InWin 303 comes in at $120 Canadian. It has this nice giant glass panel on the side with 4 USB cables on the front alongside with 2 audio jack. The power button is also on front of the case alongside that with a quick restart button too. Coming along to the first side of the case here, we're presented with a nice glass side. This allows us to enter into the brains of the case a lot easier. Once inside this case, you can see that there's 2 slots for 2 SSD drives. You can fit a mini motherboard in here or a full-size motherboard. If there's a difference to that and I'm missing it, I'm sorry. This case has space for a 1 fan radiator, 2 fan radiator, and 3 fan radiator. If you're not too fancy with putting it up top, you can also put it on the bottom of the case too, with that's an option. The case also has a built-in dust and hair filter, making sure your case never stays that dirty. This puppy can even hold up to 2 GPUs at a time. Another downside to this case is that it doesn't come with a back fan dust filter, so if you want to make sure that pesky dust doesn't come in, you have to apply one yourself. As you also probably noticed already, the GPU is top mounted on this case, and I actually prefer it like that. If we come around to the back side of the case here, we see it's mainly flat, but at the top part it has open holes for better airflow and cooling. The way to take off this back case is from the 2 top screws that are just hand tight and easy to take off at any time. Once this back panel's off, we've greeted ourselves with the power supply area with 2 hard drive slots too. This top part has a lot of space for you to organize your cables and even plug them into the power supply without taking it out. There's also variant holes on the back of this case for you to have your cable management very nice and clean. The Nzxt H510 Flow comes in as a nice whopping $120 as well. On the front of the case here, with this nice giant open area for airflow to enter into the case and a spot where you can put your radiators too. This front panel is very easy to take off with just 2 clips on the top of the panel. Also on the back side of this panel is a nice dust and hair filter so you don't get any of that dust coming into your PC. Like I have also mentioned, this is a place where you can mount the 2 fan radiators so you can have optimal airflow entering into your computer and cooling it off. A headphone port, a USB-C port with a USB port alongside the power button are all on top of the case. Also on the top side of the case, you have a place where you can mount a fan if needed. But as you can see there is no dust filter that comes along with that, so I need to tape on my own if I don't have a fan there. On the first side of the case here, we are greeted with an almost full-size glass panel siding. This side panel is actually kind of tedious to put back on and off. You have to unscrew the screw back here, and then you have to push out. When you're also pushing out, it feels like you're about to break the case. But to put back in this glass, it feels like it's about to slip out at any moment and fall to the ground. I've already had that happen to me once. Oh my god. Once that panel's off, you're greeted to the brains of the case where everything's housed mainly. Within this area, you can have 1 fan at the back, 1 fan on top, and 2 fans at the front like I've mentioned previously. But there isn't space for a 3 fan radiator if you're wanting one. Also on the back side of this case, if you want a hair/dust filter, you would need to install one yourself as for they don't come with one installed. Also on the back here, as you can tell, the motherboard's mounted to the top and the power supply is on the bottom of this case. There's also space for you to house 2 graphics cards if needed. On our last side panel, we were just greeted with a flat surface that's all white. To remove this panel, you need to remove the 2 screws at the back and then slide to the back. This back panel, as the front panel, is also tedious to remove. The 2 screws at the back are usually not hand tight and would have to be undone with a screwdriver. And to end it off, the front clips usually do not want to clip back in when putting on the case. And you are just sat there struggling with all the cables trying to push out of the case while you're putting it back in. Not to note, these back screws are also very hard to put back in and easy to strip. Once this back panel's off, we're greeted with the cable mesh that's back here. This back case is also very nice for cable management, so you can store all your cables back here and not the mess up front. Back here is also housed 2 SSD slots, 3 hard drive slots, alongside the power supply. Back here is also very nice clips for you to put your cables in. The downside to this back part is there's no room for the back of the power supply for putting in cables or even storing them. I wish this backspace was a little bigger or could be accessed from the other side. Also to help out the power supply, there's an open hole on the bottom of the case. Alongside that is a dust and hair filter. There's also plenty of holes on the back of this case for you to organize your cables and have them very nice and neat. Now that we're done looking through them, what case would you choose? If I've glossed over one of the case's features, I'm sorry, this is so fucking scuffed.